Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to today's conversation on Gift of Healing TV. I'm Sarah Jane, and I am delighted to be joined by my two co-hosts, Jean Voistart. Hi, Jean.
Hi.
And Scott Holmes. Hi, Scott.
Hey.
And our guest for today is Leah Skurdal. Leah, thank you for joining us. And because you are Jean's guest, I am now going to hand over to Jean.
Oh, thank you, Sarah Jane. And I just want to say how honored I am to be here. And having spent a few times with you and Scott on today's conversations, I'm just honored that you asked me to co-host today. And of course, I was excited to invite Leah Skurdal. We know each other now for, I guess, a couple of years. And I just am so excited about everything she does. So I'd love to start off with a round robin, all of us going around and sharing, starting with Leah, about this topic, grounded embodied resilience, and just giving us a little hint of who you are and how you connect to that. Just a brief intro of yourself. Leah, would you tell us more about you?
Thank you, Jean, so much for inviting me as a guest today and for choosing this topic, because I think it is so relevant to the people we serve. I'm Leah Skurdal, Resilience Guide and COO at the Wellness Universe. And I connect to this topic because I reach out to heart-led leaders, community educators, to be that grounded force around all this change and transformation that's happening in the world. And when we can be steady, we can help the people around us stay steady as well, and so that we are embodying that resilience. So we are expanding resilience for other people as well.
Amazing topic, and all that you do, Leah. And I know we're going to get into this juicy subject. So, Scott, tell us about you. I know that you're an energy worker. This ties in with what you do. Tell us a little bit more for those who this is their first time joining.
So for grounded embodied resilience, I love that. You're right, Leah. I absolutely adore the topic. I've found that when in my life, when it's kind of gotten out of control and it's all over the place, it's because I'm not grounded. And so in the morning, I have always gone back to my roots, and that is learning Reiki. The first thing you do is self-Reiki, right? And being able to just get back into my body each and every day, to be able to listen to it, because it is very wise. And what I find is that when I am most disjointed is when I'm not there, when I keep going in my head and I'm in the 5G, right? All the way out there, and being in your head too much. And so bringing it back to be able to do that. It also allows me, by the way, to be able to hold space. It's what I've come to realize is what I am meant to do in this world, and that is hold space for people. And it's a matter of being able to be there and holding the space so that people can be the best they can be around me. And in doing that, I hold space for myself.
Thank you, Scott. We're going to get into more what that means to us after that. The next questions I'm going to ask go deeper into that. Sara, can you tell us who you are, what you do, and how that connects with that topic?
Well, I'm Sara, and I actually founded Gift of Healing TV in September 2014. And it's about creating a resource to share what is out there for people so they can find what works for them. And yes, Reiki was the very first thing that I came across, and because I was looking for what could I do for me. But in the first rush, if you like, of doing the Reiki and certain other bits and pieces, I came to realize I got lead boots. Because in meditation, I was off planet as often as I could, and I wanted off planet all the time, and it wasn't going to happen. And that's why I was given lead boots. And so I sort of said to the universe, okay, if I ground, if I put my roots down every day, will you please get rid of these lead boots? And I do. So while I'm grounding, I'm definitely lead boot free. And so it is important. Yeah, you talked about 5D and being up there. I love being out amongst the planets and visiting other planets. And I can still do that in meditation. Just know that I'm meant to be here. So, it's as acceptance that we are here for a purpose. We're here to experience. And that was definitely an experience that I had. And I'm going to say quick hi to Janet, who's with us again. Thank you for joining us, Janet. And Jean, the same question to you, please. A little about yourself.
Thank you. And just connecting with what you and Scott both mentioned about purpose and serving others. And I love the lead boots, what you said. Yeah, and for me, I'm an expressive arts psychotherapist for more than 50 years now, and I'm also a proud disabled person since childhood. Interesting, because my next question about what does the word grounded mean to you, and how has it changed over the years from childhood till now? For me, I've always been hypersensitive and hyper aware and all that. And so grounded as a child, running around, a few years old, meant something different. Like, you're so dramatic, you're so, sensitive, and so this, but now over the years, it's kind of changed my definition of it. And I love what you said, Sarah Jane, about connecting with the planets and the other worlds and all this. And that's really important to me. And I know it is to Leah too, very much important. Let's just take the first word, grounded, and then we'll look at embodied resilience. What does that mean to you? And has it changed over the years from childhood till now? Of course, you're grounded in that way. Not different. I remember that. Yeah. But how has it changed as you get older and grow in your connections? Let's start with you, Leah, please. What does grounded mean to you?
Of course, when I was a kid, grounded meant being barefoot in the ground and just feeling myself in my body. But as Scott said, when I'm up in my head, thinking, because that's how I got my kudos, was being that wise in my head person, all the scholarship stuff, that then I wasn't grounded. And I've noticed that amongst, with myself and my clients, that when we're swirling around in our heads, we feel anxious, not grounded. So I also, over the years, grounded has become even deeper for me in that recognizing that we are the earth, embodying through the minerals, the water, the air, becoming so conscious of that recycling of the earth elements through our physical bodies, like that, getting aware of that is part of being grounded for me as well. And then being aware of the fluids in my body, the movement of the fluids in my body, like that helps me be even more grounded in that connection to the earth.
I love that you mentioned nature and the earth is so important for me to get back on track. But I have a follow-up question for you, Leah. Is that like kind of opposites? How do you stay grounded yet also stay connected to the spiritual worlds and the high heaven?
And that's where I stretch.
That's your job, right?
That's my job, is that I stretch between feeling my energy connected to that vibrant tether to the core of the earth, and that tether into the uniqueness of that moment of conception when all the unique components came together to make this individual aligned with my North Star, my compass, that I stretch between those two, the oneness of connection to the earth and the uniqueness of individual connection to into the planet. And that's my tether that helps me stretch between the two extremes.
Beautiful. What are your thoughts about that, Scott, about that dichotomy of staying, and I think maybe that's something that all of us hope to accomplish, staying connected to both worlds and grounded and being grounded. What does that mean for you, Scott?
And what I'm going to piggyback on what Leah said, that I do meditation every day, and there are some days are better than others. I don't know, those of you who do meditation on a regular basis, some days it's very, very easy, and some days you almost got to push through it. But I find that when I am fully grounded, and how I see it is much, much different than it used to, that when I'm fully grounded in my body and tethered to the earth, that it's much easier for me to go and be there. Two things on that. When I do it, I love, Leah, the stretching, because I go down to Mother Earth, the crystalline Mother Gaia, and I connect with her there at the core of the earth, to be able to come back all the way up and go up past to the all, if you will, as I learned in India, where everybody exists. And what's funny is I was working with a client who's become a friend, and I looked at her and I said, "Do you find it hard coming back?" She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You're up all over the place, flying around." She was, if you've never met anyone who has fairy energy, they flit constantly, but they don't always know how to come back into their body, this kind of human meat suit that we have. And so I worked with her, and what I did was I tied a kite string down into her core. And she said, "Well, I don't want it to stop me." I said, No, that's not to stop you from doing anything. That's so you can find your way home. That is the breadcrumbs to bring you back into your body. And she never forgot that. And she thanked me time and again, because she could find her way back, because she couldn't before. And she would be very, very in her own head, and she just was very chaotic. And finding that one string to come back down, and now she's much more settled, much more calm, and much more grounded, just in her own, in her own body. And I love that. And for me, perception is that grounded for me used to be feet in the grass, right? Hug a tree. Really, for those of you out there, I know it sounds weird, but if you've never talked to a tree, sat there and listened, you're missing something, because their energy and their intelligence and their what they give you is just otherworldly. And we walk by them all day, every day, and never pay them any attention. But it's now that grounded for me is energetically to the earth. As long as I'm grounded, and I can be in an airplane and be grounded. I can be on a mountain. I can be on the beach. It doesn't matter where it is. The energy grounds me, because I am of this existence. I am human. I am of this earth. And when I first acknowledge that, everything is much easier.
Thank you, Scott. I love what you said. She was like fairies, all. And I think there's some people out there that can relate to that. And I love your description of the kite. And you and Leah have a lot in common with helping people get grounded in that way. So I'm going to give you a follow-back question, not a follow-up question, Scott. But I had mentioned, how has the definition of grounding changed with you from childhood through now? Has that changed?
Oh, incredibly. I used to not be aware of my body. I used to play 4 sports I'd come home at night and my knees would be in pain and I would cry, and my mom would put the Bengay on and then the ice, and and then I'd go out and I'd do it all again. I wouldn't listen to my body, and I'd just push through it. And now I am much more aware. As you get older, granted, we're all over the age of 20, there are aches and pains that happen. And I find that when I maintain the integrity of my yoga practice, I don't get those. My grandson wants to play basketball. He plays twice a day. I play twice a year. And so he wants me to go out and play basketball. And these are not motions I do very, very often. And I'm overextending myself. But as long as that day and the next day that I've done yoga, I don't have pain. And this is from somebody, me, who's had a bad back. I broke my back when I was in my 20s. And I had crippling pain for 25 years until I found yoga. And now, knock on wood, I have not had an episode of back pain like that. I mean, I'm talking flat on my back on the floor for a week at a time because I couldn't get up, having to crawl out of the car, up the stairs and into the house because I could not move. It was that bad. But now just that individual practice of yoga and being grounded into the body and all the different aspects that yoga brings to you really changed the quality of my life. So grounding really, really changed in how I saw myself and how I listened to my body.
Thank you so much. And Sara Jane, what about you? Has your definition of grounding changed over the years? And how do you incorporate that in your life?
I have so few memories of my childhood. Teens, 20s, 30s. I was so unhappy because of the accident that occurred when I was just under a year old. And those feelings of abandonment and rejection, which weren't abandonment and rejection. I don't place blame anywhere, but you cannot explain to a 1-year-old that there are rules and regulations and circumstances outside your parents' control, that they didn't abandon me. They just weren't allowed to come and see me in hospital, sort of. So I was a very unhappy child, teen, and early adult with very few memories. So I was a people pleaser, a chronic people pleaser, constantly worrying about what other people thought, what would keep them happy, what might make them like me for a little while until they realized I wasn't worth liking. This is how negative I was about myself. So I was stuck here in my negativity, if you like. And this is, I suppose, why it got to the stage of lead boots, because I was freed of all of that. Once the life quake happened, it not literally overnight, but it freed me from those insecurities about myself. Reiki was a really big part of that. And it was doing the Reiki and working with the Lords of Melchizedek. Those things that it was just like, that is when I knew I'd got the lead boots. And people started talking about grounding, started talking about putting your roots down.
Yes.
And I've heard people say either from the base of your feet or from the base of your spine. Doesn't matter, whatever works for you. I think feet was what I heard first, so feet is what I tend to do. And so for me, with that agreement, and I do this twice a day, I do it morning as I'm getting up, and I do it evening as I'm going to bed. And I invite my roots to go down deep into Mother Earth, anchoring into Mother Earth. But then I also am a tree. And so I stretch my branches up. So you were talking about, creating that stretch. I do. How tall can I become with my fingers spread like the branches? Creating a connection with Source and inviting energy from Mother Earth up through my heart to Source, and energy from Source down through my heart to Mother Earth. And in the morning, I also expand the energy from my heart to touch the lives that I touch, and way beyond. Yeah, I don't limit it to this planet. That's my routine for keeping me here, because it's accepting the fact, well, I'm still here at 68, so I'm obviously meant to be. There's still stuff I've got to do. And so we just do it, don't we? It is important, because anytime somebody does a guided meditation, I'm gone. Yes, please, up with the Pleiades and wherever else, because that was part of working with the Lords of Melchizedek. We found we were working with the Pleiadians. So
beautiful. I just love this group. What the best group ever here. And all the imagery that you're sharing, everyone. And it's just, I know there's people out there right now that are scattered, that are stressed, that are disconnected, and really grateful for these things that you're sharing. I'd like to, I guess I'll share about my grounding first, and then I want to ask to go deeper with Leah here. But my grounding as an expressive arts therapist is through the arts and nature, as we all have mentioned. Just getting out there. I'm fully communicating with all the animals and nature, and feel so connected, because I'm like that woman you were describing, fairy-like energy all the time. And people tell me, Jean's on a walkabout again. She's in, where she is. But yeah, but I like to think that it's possible to do both. I practice dual consciousness, and I maintain that connection to spirit, to God, universe, source, and all my spiritual guides while grounding. And that's what you do, Leah, which is so amazing. I've been in your sessions. I love what you do, and we're so honored that you're here. So I would like you to, first explain what expressive arts are. Music, art, drama, movement, as Sara was just doing. All that is so important for me. But Leah, could you please share, how do we know when we're not grounded? What are some of the symptoms and red flags, and how we can get back on track when in the moment in an easy way? So whatever.
I thank you so much for letting us talk about that category, because I'm sure there are a lot of people listening who they don't know that ungrounded is the reason they're feeling, just as you said, scattered and dissipated, like your energy is out there. So I noticed that a client came in who was just like talking, and then she had this terrible headache. And I suggested that she would bring her energy from her head to her heart, to her belly, to her feet, into the earth like tree roots, and bring that energy back up. And it was almost miraculous in the way that she just calmed right down. So that's one way, is when you notice that for myself, I'm squirrel. My mind is squirreling. But another thing I've noticed is when my body first started waking up, I would wake up in the night feeling like I was being electrocuted, that my feet were zinging, and I would go out walking because there was this energy coming in that I couldn't process. My nervous system was on high alert, and I couldn't process it. And that was today. I just noticed that I was having some tech issues, and I was on internet security issues with tech support for a couple hours. And I paused and I noticed like my energy was zinging out here, and I felt kind of like an electric storm. So those of us who are sensitive, we maybe can feel our nervous system on high alert. And that's where, when we bring our awareness, again, head, heart, belly, I bring awareness along the cerebral spinal fluid, along the spine, to be fully aware, fully present in the earth, and then through the tailbone, legs, feet, into the crystalline core of the earth, and bring that energy back up. And the awareness that I am now grounded helps me notice, oh, I was not grounded. And that brings my awareness into more actively recognizing efficiently, oh, wait, in the moment, I need to shift.
Yes. And how do you do that, Leah? If you are, okay, you said the awareness of when I am grounded helps me know how to shift and be grounded. But how do we do that when we are off and we don't know that we're not grounded? What is our go-to to get?
My go-to is, again, awareness from head to heart. I'll just feel I'm off, to pause, breathe, pause. And there's actually research that, like, what we know to do automatically, we've been doing for years, pause. There's research from the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence to show that, oh, actually, when you pause and ask, what would the highest and best version of me do right now? That you give that, your brain that's gotten activated in fight, flight, freeze, you give that brain amygdala and the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex that is like swirling, you give that pause to, pause, to reset. So first thing, head, heart. I tap on my sternum, bring awareness to the heart. And then ask, okay, what would the highest version of me do? Noticing. So I have a goal, GOAL, ground, awareness, head, heart, belly, feet into the earth. Observe, okay, I'm noticing I'm feeling on high alert. My gut hurts. Ask, what would the highest and best version of me do? And listen. Okay. And then take that aligned action.
Yeah, I think the reason I asked that question is because over the years, we already found out I'm the oldest one here. Over the years, I've learned that disciplined daily practice helps me know. That disciplined daily practice of being in that high energy spiritual place. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't know. And the more that I've done that over the years, I know what it feels like. And then I also know, I have to admit and take total responsibility, that because I'm at this place of consciousness now in my life, there are times when I choose not to go there, to that high place. And I say, I want to get mad at somebody right now. Or I want to go down that track. And so it's that flick of a moment of deciding, no, I have this power given to me by Source, this freedom to choose. And I'm choosing not to go there and to stop, breathe, and get back in alignment. So that is just such a precious gift from the universe that we have that. And I honor and respect that. And knowing that I consciously am choosing not to is the perfect place to be. So I just want everybody out there who's feeling ashamed when they do go there, don't be ashamed. All of us have made the decision not to go there. And all of us know that it takes practice of feeling the goodness and being there and learning to choose. So, yeah. So
developing that spiritual muscle.
Yeah, developing that muscle. It's spiritual exercises, just like physical exercises that we need to do. Thank you, Leah, for sharing those red flags. And would anybody else like to comment on what Leah just said?
Sure. And they call it a practice for a reason. We practice because we never perfect it. We are not the same person day to day to day to day. Everything changes. Maybe we're not feeling well when we wake up. Maybe something is going on in our life. Maybe we're dealing with something else, but we're never that same person. We change constantly. Everybody, I used to think I had control of my life. Yeah. All right. So I realized that the only control I had was how I reacted to it. And so that practice of doing it time and time and time again, I know who I am. I know where I should be, right? If I've been in a place where I can't do yoga and meditation for a couple of days, I get back to it and it's like, oh, I got to relearn this. Okay, let's get back. Oh, okay, there it is. All right, there it is. It takes me a little bit longer. But what I've done and what I counsel a lot of clients to do is, and I have a couple that are really high energy. They're scattered a lot. And I said, how do you, I've asked them, how do you calm down? Well, I try not to drink as much coffee. It's like, well, that's not quite what you're going to do. So I always offer the 4-square breath, where you're counting in your head and you breathe in for 4, you hold it for 4, you blow out for 4, hold it, and you do that 4 times. I call it 4-square. And if you're counting in your head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, guess what? Whatever you were thinking about is gone. It just goes away. You can't keep counting like that and have those thoughts keep coming through. And so all of a sudden the shoulders come down a little bit. Their breathing gets regulated. All of a sudden their body relaxes. And they're like, wait a minute, what was I talking about? The other thing with breath, by the way, and the best thing that ever happened to me was taking a breath before I spoke. Now, I was always very quick-witted, right? Quick. But what would happen is things would come out of my mouth and they might hurt somebody, or they might not be said in the best possible way. And so I take a breath before I speak now. And I think about it. That just that little breath in allows my mind to say, really? You're not going to say that? No, you're not going to say that. Okay. And a lot of times nothing comes out because there is nothing that need be said. So that's, breath. How many times a day? Somebody came up with a number of how many times we breathe during the course of the day. And we don't even think about it. Our body just does it. It's when that consciousness, that presence to the breath comes, that it really helps regulate the body. And that's where, when we're talking about embodied, that's truly your heart pumps and you breathe. Okay. Anything above and beyond that, well, that's a gift.
Thank you so much for bringing up breathing. And that was actually going to be my next question about, let's define embodied resilience versus resilience. What's embodied resilience? But Sarah Jane, would you like to comment on anything that Leah or Scott said?
For me, it's thinking about, we're here having a human experience. I mean, you commented, Jean, about sort of allowing yourself. I absolutely, and I'm in that place of acceptance, of acknowledging that I am here having a human experience, regardless of the things I've learned about myself in this life and other lives, etc., etc. I'm here at this time having an experience. I'm here to touch lives. There are agreements that have been made. Some of them are uncomfortable agreements. And sometimes, and I've always said, and not that I've ever had to do it, and I hope I don't, but if I ever caught somebody selling drugs, if I could give the proof, I would give that proof. Or watched could witnessed a crime, I wouldn't step back from that. I would step forward to that. Because we're not here to say, oh, fine, that's their stuff, it's got nothing to do with me, because we've agreed to be part of that. And so there are times when we're very definitely here for the human aspect and agreements. And then it's forgiving ourselves, it's respecting ourselves, it's awareness of self. But I'm also one of these people that at the end of every day, this thing, this contraption, this computer goes off. And I take my head out of the everyday with a Sudoku or a code word or something. I'm thinking about something that is not in the everyday. To relax, to unwind, to take myself out of. Because we're still here to, when my mind starts going, my mind goes, when I go to bed, I don't get anything like enough sleep. And I'm sure there are an awful lot of people out there who've experienced it. If you can't shut your mind off, sleep is going to be something you're going to find very difficult. And we require the sleep. It's part of our human experience to require that sleep. Sort of. Some people say you're a long time dead, but actually you still do require to sleep in this life. So how do we relax ourselves? How do we give ourselves space? Because I don't do the modern mobile phone thing. I don't have an iPad. I just have my desktop computer. So when it goes off, it's off. And it's supporting ourselves to disconnect from the distractions of life so that we can be here for the things that we are here for.
Beautiful. Well said. And honoring our humanness can be very grounding, and thank you so much for sharing all that, Sara Jane. Beautiful. So that question, the second part of the title, Embodied Resilience, I know that you carefully chose those 3 words, Leah. And so tell us about this embodied resilience and what does that mean to you? Why is that important? I know you're an expert with that.
Thank you. Just as we've been talking about, what Sara said was being out of our head and active in the moment, active, engaged with life, rather than disassociated or. And it's just as you said, Jean, is so important to be choosing that freedom to choose. So, embodied resilience is that freedom of choice. I'm using my discernment. I'm using my human choice to disengage from what I don't want and choosing what I do want, which is to be connected to people, to be present in my body, to create the next steps toward what I do want, which I think is going to bring more into the world of what I do want. So I think those are ways that we are bringing resilience into the world by being focused on our intention to create resilience. Does that answer your question?
Well, can you tell me how you've experienced resilience in your life, Leah? I mean, your journey, your life journey from childhood.
Yeah. Well, when I was 20, I did not die in a car crash. And I found out a week later that someone I knew in high school died in a small plane crash just a few days before that. And that totally changed my worldview. Like, oh, I am here for a reason. And so that started that path of, I'm here for a reason. I don't know what that is. I believe we're all here for a reason. And then when we're done, we'll move on. But that belief that I'm here for a reason has kept me, I think, being purposeful. And so that being purposeful and focused on my North Star. And so I also have a spiritual practice like you to, again, bring awareness into the physical body and stretching between the crystalline core of the earth and the oneness of all creation. And how is the divine expressing uniquely in me, as me, through me in this now moment? Like that, bringing that intersection, which I also think about the figure 8 infinity symbol, going inward to that oneness and outward to the world, and inward to oneness and outward to the world. Like there are different ways to think about that infinity symbol, but that here I am at the intersection. And that when I'm in the intersection and I'm connected to that place of oneness with all that is, and connected to that North Star, that purposefulness, to me, that feels like embodying resilience.
Beautiful. Yeah. I'm so glad you brought up the infinity symbol. And for me, that moment to moment, in every breath, experiencing, receiving, and giving constantly, right here. It's happening right here. And that's what keeps me in that high state of consciousness. And whether someone's exploding on me or I have injured my foot or whatever's happening, just that maintaining that infinity flow. And why did you mentioned you had trouble getting on here, Leah? You had this challenge. These challenges come up constantly in this physical world. And me too. I was working all night, spent hours working on a video and editing it. And then it was the weirdest thing that happened. The platform that I was using, they changed their platform in the middle of me working on this video. And I got all done and I was ready to finish off the music and background stuff. And it disappeared. I logged back in. I had saved everything. All the tools and all the way of using it disappeared. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? These aren't there. And I was using the helper chat and it was saying, well, just click on this button. It's not there anymore. Nothing's there. Well, try this or that. It's not there. Oh, well, if it's not there, it must be because we just currently updated. How current? Recently, we just did it. Like the middle way. So these things happen. Life happens. But that infinity flow, if we can remember that embodied resilience, there's a reason for this. I'm okay. And I'm going to receive the blessing of this. I'm going to move forward. It's okay. But I want to say that this right here, all the feels that we're feeling right here, this community that you've created, Sarah Jane and Scott, is so beautiful for that. And I'd like everybody to speak before we close about community. Why community is important, whether it's family, chosen family, birth family, chosen family, friends, organizations, these platforms. People can find a space to get grounded, to find what they need. How has community played a part in your life, Scott? You and Sarah Jane created this. How has community played a part in your life?
Well, I was introduced to Sarah Jane, and Sarah, for those of you who don't know Sarah Jane, she is the biggest collector of people of anyone I have ever met in my life. She has introduced me to so many different people, so many different aspects, modalities, that I am so privileged to have been accepted to. In writing, I have found my community. for the beginning part of my life, it was all about family. And after my wife passed and my daughters got older and they're having children of their own, I was left with me. And I needed to find a way. What was that way? I didn't even know who I was because I had been in service for so many years, and in preparing my wife and my daughter. And so it's resilience is such a big word for me, because no matter where anybody is, it'll change, right? In and out. And it took me many years, by the way, to allow that in. That when people would give me compliments, I just no, that isn't me. That isn't for me. No. And it's still not easy for me, but it's that, you're right, that flow. And Leah, I love the Xfinity. It reminds me of how much energy, when I'm working with clients with Reiki, right? Goes up, it's down, this constant motion. And when you get somebody moving and they're moving energy and they say, well, I'm getting all, I'm getting tingles, I'm getting cold. And it's like, yep, okay, we're moving the energy, and that's a wonderful thing. This community has allowed me to travel the world in a really profound fashion. I've met shamans, I've met priests and priestesses. I've sat through so many different modalities in so many countries in the world because of the authors, because of the people that I've met through doing this work. It has changed my life significantly. And now I have a tribe of people that stretch from South Africa and Australia and Singapore and England and Canada and everywhere in between, in the UK. And it just is magnificent when you find people who are in the same vibration that you are. Now, members of my own family, I don't know, honestly, if they've ever read anything that I've written. I've written in almost 20 books, and I don't know that they've ever read a single word. I'm the different one, right? I'm the black sheep. I'm the odd man out. I've always been a very much different, or seen the world much differently. And it's amazing when the four of us can sit down and have these discussions so easily. And I couldn't find four people that live within a mile of me that I could have these discussions with. Thank goodness for technology. Thank goodness for the work that we do, for all the communities that we've built over this time. However it happens, I feel so very blessed to be able to be a part of this, and embraced by everyone that you walk in the door. If there were 25 people here that we knew in this community, it would be this feeling magnified that many times over. So this means the world to me, and it's my tribe. And we may not live within 150, 250, 400 miles of one another, but damn if we're not close.
Thank you. Well said. Yes. It's amazing, because I know there's people out there that might feel alone. You're not alone. This is a community right here. And there's so many communities, and we're just so blessed to have this tech world. There's good and bad about it, but the community, and I love that you mentioned writing. I care deeply about that. I've worked with over 18 books now, I think, illustrating, helping publish, or writing myself, and this and that. And that's part of the creative arts for me: writing, music, movement, expressing, meeting people. It's just beautiful. And so thank you for wording that so eloquently, Scott. And Sarah Jane, what would you like to say about your many, many communities that you created, and why that's important with Embodied Resilience?
I think because I didn't ever feel part of the family that I'm meant to be a part of. I don't feel I have had, yes, I went to school and I so-called had school friends. I don't think I know any of them now. Everything that was, and it's all there in the past. bringing people in from the past into my future, into my now, is just something that I didn't do because of the insecurities. And now it's, when I started Gift of Healing TV, it was like, fine. And I am going to go out there and I am going to connect with people all over the world. Australia, New Zealand, China, India, sort of Europe, Australia, America, sort of Canada, UK, obviously, because that's where I live. But it was a concerted effort to do that. And I'm very lucky. We've got a lovely group of light workers, and we have every couple of months we have a light workers lunch. And so it's lovely to be in the same room with people who are like-minded. But you call me a collector of people, Scott. You're actually catching up with me, mate. I think it's that for me, that it's that connection. When I sort of did something with the grandmothers and they talked about the net of connection around the planet, and it was just like everybody I connect with and I can have these like-minded conversations with, those people are adding to that net of connection around our planet. I have got a group of friends I cannot talk about any of this to. So I've grown in that respect so beyond where they are. Yeah. But that's their choice. This is my choice. My mother struggles with it a bit. She accepts some of it and she's not sure about the rest of it. My middle sister's the same. My youngest sister's, she's right there, but she's doing her own thing in her own way. And I think it's that acceptance of the fact we are here to be ourselves. We can say, when we say yes to others, are we saying no to ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
The important person for us to be saying yes to is us. And that isn't selfish, because we have, and for me, it's lovely to know that I have a purpose. Whether I know what that purpose is beside the point. It's lovely to know I am here with a purpose. I am not somebody that the insecurities told me I was for so many years. And meeting people like yourselves,
mm-hmm.
I still don't. Should it be a validation? I don't know. It's just like, I just do what I do. I'm just me.
Thank you.
And that's what we should be.
Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your golden heart, and everybody. And that I'm saving Leah for last. And Leah, I met you through the Wellness Universe. That's one of my many communities that I love, and it's dear to my heart, and because as a disabled child, adult woman, it was difficult to find a community back then. Now it isn't, that's online, that could offer me, say, hey, you're valuable, you're lovable and valuable, you have something. I was a psychotherapist, I was working now, then I couldn't do things, and what can I do? The Wellness Universe opened up to me, and that's how I met Leah and Brave Healer Productions with the books and all that. And all of you and all that you do, Sara, Jane, and Scott. And it's a message to everybody out there. If you're feeling like a major life change has happened, like Scott mentioned, all of a sudden his family is gone. He's always been a father, spouse. What's going to do? If a major life change happened, and you're feeling, where's my community? We've got you. There's so many communities out there. So Leah, I'd love for you to share about your community and what you're doing right now, and how people can contact you and hook up with you and all that you do. I just love the Wellness Universe people, and I was so grateful to have found you and the Wellness Universe, and Anna Pereira, our CEO.
I love that so much. And as an introduction to that, I want to say that we are both that individual. Yes, I say yes to myself first, and we're that finding that connection to the vibration of people who resonate with us, and that we're creating that a synergy, that our individual uniqueness blends into the others and creates a synergy that's better, higher vibration than we can do or find on our own. And that's what I found. Now, I didn't grow up with that. There was my family, and I was, just as you said, I was the black sheep. I was the weird one. And then, and I still am, as a matter of fact. And in my friend group, I was the weird one on the outside. Then I found the wellness universe, like, oh, these people get me and have explained who I am. So finding that tribe of people who get you, that is such a blessing, such a gift. And so thank you, Sara Jane and Scott and Jean, for creating this little micro community here of all the people who are blessed to be connecting in. And then again, the Wellness Universe is a community where I feel that connection. Now let's pause just a moment. We're virtual, but bring your awareness from your head to your heart and feel into that heart space where my bubble of energy and your bubble of energy and your bubble of everybody who's listening, our energy is intersecting here in this virtual space. Can you feel that vibration of our heart space? Even though we're not local, but there. Did you notice that? The way that energy just opened up?
Yeah.
We can have that energy space when we are connected, when we're feeling into the vibration of our purposefulness, of our uniqueness and our oneness. We can create that community. And at the Wellness Universe, we call that a kind of a magical community. We just had a soul treat, a retreat where we get to meet in person. And we also have that, which was amazing. And then we have this virtual space as well, where all you listening, you're welcome, you're invited. And we have lots of classes. We have lots of different opportunities similar to this to connect in and find your tribe.
Yeah. Thank you. I love what you said about did you feel it? Yeah, I felt it right then. And I think it would be such a treat for you to lead us in an exercise right now, a grounding embodied resilience exercise. Leah, I would love that if that's okay with you, Sara Jane,
yes.
as we leave off here for everyone. And those were powerful words that were said here, each of you. Again, I'm just so honored to be included in this group. That the power of you have your own journey, you have your individualism, you have your purpose. Sara said 3 times, I have my purpose, and it's been passed around, all of us finding that, and finding that group that honors that is so important. And we see that for you, all you watching. So Leah, could you take us off by giving us a little exercise that anyone could practice, whether they're out and about on their phone right now, on a bus, or sitting at the beach, or wherever they are, something that they could do and join you in this? I'd really appreciate that, Leah.
Check to see, we've just got like a minute, right? Yeah. So, okay, so bring your awareness from your head to your heart. And imagine you can breathe through your heart as if you have a nose in the center of your chest. And I often am tapping on my sternum when I notice that my mind, maybe my head feels tight. Breathe. And then drop down to your belly. Maybe even tap on your belly. Drop down to your hips, to the tailbone. Imagine you have a pyramid base. And then drop down from your tailbone through your legs, through your feet into the earth. And as if you have a tap root growing down into the center of the earth, finding that crystalline core of the earth. Breathe that earth energy back up through that taproot, pausing at the base, pausing at the earth's surface to find that we've used the trees, finding our trees connected one to the other under the earth, wherever our feet touch the ground, we're connected one to the other. Under the surface of the earth, and find the water. We all breathe the same water. We all drink the same water. We all breathe the same air. Our bodies are made of the same minerals. Find that place of oneness through like that mycelial network of the trees connected with each other under the surface. And breathe that back up through your feet, through your legs, through your torso, out the top of your head like the canopy of a tree. Breathing that oxygen-rich air from the trees and the plankton back in to your lungs, back out to the trees and the plankton, the other half of our lungs, and back in. So we can find our place here on the earth, your feet anchored. Feel your feet anchored on the earth. And last thing, bring that awareness along your spine. That cerebral spinal fluid from the tailbone up to the brain and back down. Tailbone up to the brain and back down. And finding that fluid that flows through the center of your spine. You're fully present here now. Notice if you don't feel more inhabiting your body in this now moment. Blessed be. And I want to invite people on the Wellness Universe platform. I offer a midweek reset meditation twice a month. I invite people to hop in there, either come live or listen to a recording where we do a 20-minute guided meditation like that, where we can push the reset button.
Push the reset button. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sara, Jane, and Scott, for this platform. Thank you, Leah, our special guest today. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Sara Jane, for your final words for our group here. Thank you.
Thank you to each and every one of you, to Jean and Scott for being here, and for Leah for agreeing to join us, and for sharing your wisdom. And I know that this will touch the lives it is meant to when it is meant to, and that's always my intention. Janet says, thank you, everyone, for a very interesting discussion. Blessings to you all. I have also put Leah's website address in the chat, and I will make sure that all of our website addresses are under the video on YouTube. So folks, if you're watching on YouTube, if you wish to learn more about each of us, check out our websites. You can also connect with us through our websites. And I'm sure you've heard about the Wellness Universe. You can always just look the Wellness Universe up. It's very simple to find. Next week, Scott is my guest.
Yay!
He had a book that came out this week, but the topic he's going to be talking about, sharing, is empathy versus absorption. So I hope you'll consider joining us for that. In the meantime, folks, take care, be safe, stay well.